So you want to build a house. Welcome to the podcast by Statera Homes. I'm Scott Daly, and I'm here with my host, Jackie Kowaleski.
What's going on?
And today we're going to take a little bit of a diversion
Yes.
from our normal exciting podcast broadcasts. We have a special guest. Jackie, will you introduce our special guest?
Yes, we have Keith. Yay.
Hey,
Round
hey.
of applause.
What's going on?
Do we have cool sound effects?
We can put them in later. So, Keith, what is your role at Statera Homes?
Well, I'm our sales manager, and I basically function as the guide for our customers. So they come in and they have an idea, or maybe not. Maybe they don't have an idea, but they know they want to build a house. And so I just work with them in design and trying to fit what they want into their budget. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. People come in. Some people know exactly what they want. Some people don't. So we get to have a lot of fun sort of helping them articulate what they want and making it a reality for them.
So if someone wanted to meet you in person, they could actually come into a Statera model and they might see you there?
Absolutely.
Wow.
You're going to have so many people lining up at the door.
Do you sign autographs?
All our fans.
Sure. Now, just so you understand a few things, because we're a small local company, and that's really one of the core values. Keith, do you have any other connection to kind of Statera in any way? Or to the ownership in Statera? Let me lead you a little more in that question there, buddy.
Yes, I am the son-in-law of Scott Daly, who is the owner of Statera.
Right. And we have a model home called the Autumn.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That is my wife.
That is my daughter. How about that?
Love that.
We also have a model called the Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
That is my daughter.
Yeah, that was Keith saying that, just for the record. That is not Scott's
That's Scott's
daughter.
granddaughter.
That is Scott's granddaughter. So we're very much a family company. And one of the things, Keith will not toot his own horn, so I will raise my own trumpet on his behalf and say, when Keith started in new homes, this is not the first company he has worked for, he worked in production. And so one of the great things that he brings to the table in doing what he said he does with people is he understands how houses are built. He understands the process. And so it's not just sitting down with somebody that can say, here are the floor plans and here are the options and here's the pricing and here's a mortgage person you need to talk to. He can give you a lot of insight into how to get the house built and to, the things that you might want to change to a floor plan and the implications of that. So he really is a great resource. And I'm not just saying that because he's married to my daughter and I have to be nice to him because we could tell stories of back when he was dating my daughter of how I wasn't nice to him. So, but he's come to be not just a son-in-law, but a colleague and a friend and someone that I respect a lot. So, Jackie, what's he doing here?
Yeah, Keith, what are you doing here?
Well, I think we're going to discuss some of the common misconceptions. People come into the sales model, they have a lot of questions, and so we're going to cover some of that. Maybe a couple, maybe one or two funny stories, model home stories.
I'm actually really excited to have you on here because Keith is
stuff.
a very fun person, and he's just so crucial to Statera. So it's really great that we're introducing him to you all. Fun fact about Keith, he's in a band. He rocks out. I've been. My now fiance, I can say that. That's weird. And I went to one of Keith's, what do you call it, shows?
Yeah,
Band?
a show.
It's
Is that
a
a
gig.
con-
It's a
Gig.
gig.
I'm sorry, I'm not hip on that
Clearly.
lingo. Okay. But super skilled guy, and he's really fun to work with. I just wanted to give him a compliment. You gave him a compliment.
What
so
Jackie means is that Keith can shred on
He can
guitar.
shred,
He
yeah.
can straight shred. If
My
you don't know what that means,
the
Google it.
skin on our faces went backwards when they
Right.
started playing.
Jackie had to have
right.
I should have bought the
eardrum
earplugs.
surgery that week.
That
No,
when
it
it's-
was awesome.
When
It
it's
was
time
great.
to rock, Keith answers the bell.
That's dang. We should have introduced you differently.
That's right.
Okay, so yeah, what Keith said. So we are going to go into the sales side of your background, and we're going to talk, since you sit in the model a lot, about some misconceptions about the model. When people walk into the model, what are some of the biggest things that are disconnects that you see?
Yeah, I think for our product and kind of the market here, what I see a lot is people walk in and they have a misconception about quality. The main thing being, a house is a house is a house is a house. That's kind of what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to kind of walk them through, okay, well, we're using, Andersen Windows KitchenAid appliances. There are things about our house, a custom kitchen. There are things about our house that don't make our house the same as some of our competition. Something I always kind of go back to is to say, well, if a car is just a car, then a Kia and a BMW are the same quality, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not true. We know that. Anybody who's ever driven a BMW knows that BMWs drive much nicer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the misconception is just that all houses are created equal. And so this cheaper house and this house right here that's a little bit more expensive, looking at the two of them, price is really the only thing that people look at, and I think that they need to look at a little bit more than price to figure out exactly what they want in their house, and that's what we help them do.
That's really interesting because what we found is that people just don't really understand what goes into building a house.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that misconception is the idea that a house is a house is a house. But, that's not something that really holds true in any other aspect of your life,
Mm-hmm.
So there is, an understanding that, all cups of coffee aren't created. Like you said,
That's
all
right.
cars aren't created.
Sure.
Clothing, everything, that there is some idea in the difference. And so you're saying
Right.
is that doesn't usually somehow translate into houses, and you said because a lot of time it's just sold on price.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that some people realize, maybe they do realize there is a difference in quality, but
Right.
because they don't know exactly what,
Right.
not knowing makes it a little bit easier to dismiss that idea and say, well, you know what, I can get away with a lower price house because it's probably similar. But we're here to tell you to please look into things
Huge difference.
and listen to
Right.
our podcast. Yeah. Keith's a good first-time podcaster.
He is
So far.
definitely that.
So far, Keith.
Man, I'm getting talked up.
Yeah.
Talked up big time.
So
Yeah, don't mess it up. Okay.
right. So what's another? So give
Yeah.
us another common misconception that people have about new home construction.
So new home construction, I would say one of the biggest misconceptions is timing. There are a lot of builders in our area and in other areas that can, they're going to promise you these crazy time frames. We'll build your house contract to keys in 90 days, or
Okay, so when you say crazy, you mean fast.
I mean fast. What I mean is you get these companies that just build build incredibly fast, and so not to say that there's not a place for that, but in our business we want to. Huge part of our business is we're just going to offer a lot of custom options. So we're going to do a fully custom kitchen. We do 3 plan revisions. There are a lot of areas in our business that allot for some construction choices. Just how rooms look, feel. Bumping out, doing different structural options. So anyway.
Okay, so Keith, let me interrupt you really briefly, because what you talk about, all these options and plan revisions and customization, we're in the business. We think that's really exciting. But for most people, you can just terrify them because they're sitting there, they're listening to this podcast going, I have to make all those decisions. I don't know anything about cabinets. I don't know anything about colors. I don't know anything about finishes. How am I going to make the right decisions? These are expensive decisions. Right. So why is that a good thing at Statera?
Well, I think that, yes, it can be a very intimidating process for some, but we're going to help guide you through it. What this means is that the choices you get to make become opportunities to personalize your home. one of the fundamental differences in my role versus other salesmen of different companies, different products, is I actually get to help you build your dream home, help you craft it.
So what you're saying, so can you be as involved as I want you to be? So say I'm a very experienced person and I've built homes before, and I come in and I say, Keith, I got this. Like, thank you. Just want to pick my selections. Fine with that.
Right.
Okay. Or I can come in and say, I've never built new before. This process makes me so nervous. I can barely pick my dinner when I go out to eat. I need help and I know
Right.
nothing. So you can handle that spectrum.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think some companies are really limited. They don't offer you a ton of options. Where we shine is if you want to be super, super involved, we have the capacity to be a little bit more custom. But if you just want to bread and butter, you kind of want us to help you with, even just very basic things, that's not a problem at all.
Well, so if I come in and I don't even know where to start, have you ever talked to anyone that, maybe from ground zero? Have you just sort of informed people on how the process goes?
Yeah. So the process is a little different depending on what the customer's looking for. If they are in a community, they have a specific community in mind, then it's, as simple as inquiring about, about the lot, and just figuring out what's involved with that particular, plot of land. And then what we always tell people is that they want to fall in love with the land before they fall in love with the house. We want to make sure you want to be where you want to be first. And then once we have that defined set of variables, so, lots cost X, lot involves X, which costs this much, then we can figure out the home that works for that land.
Okay, that's good. I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that. There's no Pinterest pages on plots of land,
It's
right?
not the most exciting picture.
Right, because you just want to go right to the kitchen or, whatever your focal point. Maybe you like porches. I don't know.
But location does matter.
Yeah, and that's why you got to talk to Keith.
Right. And so, that's what one of the things I think, of course, we're tooting my own horn here in the company
Oh, boy.
is the idea of, hey, this is an individualized process. And so we're going to be able to give you the flexibility and the expertise that you need to come alongside you and be successful. Like you said, whether you're very knowledgeable and you understand how to build a new home, whether you've never done it before. And I think that's really key because I think a lot of people would love to have a new house and they're just scared of it. And so they don't go for it. And what we want to say is go for it.
Yeah, because we have a Keith.
Because we have a Keith.
Right. Okay, Keith. This is a fun one. I'm excited to ask about this. Do you have any stories of people coming in the model that are just out of the ordinary?
Yeah, I mean...
And by out of the ordinary, she means maybe ridiculous.
Yeah. I didn't know what to say there. Should I have said it ridiculous?
Well, I think you're going to get ridiculous.
Oh, I'm excited. Let's go.
It's crazy because I think, honestly, every experience is so unique. Everybody who comes in is a little, different in terms of what they want, where they're coming from, who they are. So it's super, super fun because I get to meet a lot of people from all different walks of life and experiences. So yes, there are some funny stories. I'm sure I could craft a bunch. I guess I probably shouldn't talk about the time some lady, pooped her pants.
Oh my God.
Oh, yes.
Stop.
Oh, you absolutely should talk about that.
You can say soiled.
So is that even
Soiled. Yeah,
soiled?
I guess that's the soiled is.
Wait.
Had a surprise bowel movement.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So that's a thing.
Yeah.
So wait, tell the story.
All right, so basically we're walking the house. It's me and a couple of ladies, and I heard a noise, and I was like, man, I think I know what that was, but
Please,
there's no way.
please do not be any
I
more
don't-
specific
yeah.
about the noise. Let's
Move
just leave it
on.
at noise.
Please move forward.
There's no way. There's no way that just happened. I was kind of like in disbelief. Well, then it started to, started to smell.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Anyway, the worst part about it is we just proceeded with the walkthrough. I mean, they didn't even acknowledge it at all.
Oh,
So
no.
of course I'm just walking them through
Gagging.
the house. Yeah, I mean, as
Oh.
soon as they left, I opened every single window in that house. All the fans went on.
This is just what makes this story funny is that everyone acted like it didn't happen.
Right.
And also Keith is a really mellow guy, so it's just funny that these things happen to him.
And like there's all these manuals on how to sell. And I guarantee, you can read all these books, how to be a killer salesman, that isn't in the book.
No.
What to do.
Okay, you started off really strong with these
Right?
stories.
Yeah, yeah.
That is,
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, it's a little that was definitely one of the more wild. I mean,
Yeah.
so kind of going back to my construction experience,
Okay.
I was this is funny. It's kind of embarrassing. But
Like the first story wasn't? Or
well, it's
oh,
not
embarrassing to
on
you.
my it's not
Okay,
embarrassing on my
to
part.
you. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm walking a house with a couple. They're getting ready to move in, and you know, I'm just walking them through their house, showing them this is the final walkthrough. So I'm showing them how their house works. We're flushing all the toilets, starting the showers. We're checking the appliances, making sure everything works.
Mhm.
And we're outside, and I'm showing them some of their vents on the side of their house and telling them what they do. And I'm walking backwards, and I tripped on something. I did a full backwards somersault, lost my hat, my clipboard,
wow.
grass stained. It was pretty awesome. But it was actually really funny because I don't know if the customer was just so excited about their house or what, but they totally, I don't know what it is. People just don't acknowledge things in front of me, I guess, because I just continue to talk
They
about.
didn't say anything?
No,
Did they
didn't
help
say
you
anything.
up?
No, they didn't help me up. Yeah, I just
Oh,
grabbed my
man.
clipboard, put my hat back on, just continued to talk about the vents on the side of their house. And
Jeez.
they didn't even laugh. I have the biggest smile on my face, fully blushed and everything, and nope, nobody said
Man, it's
anything.
rough out there.
Wow. That's awkward.
I'm glad I'm in the office.
Yeah. It's uneven ground out there.
That's funny. So
Poor Keith.
let me ask you another maybe halfway serious question. I don't know. We'll see what kind of answer we get. Based on your production experience, because again, you weren't just working in a model, you were actually building the houses
Right.
for a good bit of time. What are some misconceptions people have on that end when the house is under construction?
Well, I think people really underestimate the role of weather. Weather is in a coastal town, coastal towns like we live in this county. We all enjoy the beach. We all enjoy everything about being coastal. The weather, being able to go out on the boat. But what we forget about is the impact that weather has on construction.
Mhm.
Folks that work in offices, do other, that jobs where they're not outside all the time.
Yeah, what are you trying to say?
I'm not. This isn't a jab at all at Jackie. She does work in the office,
Yeah.
but
I go outside every now and then.
yeah, I mean, I think when you're building homes here in Southern Delaware, you're going to experience weather, and that's just a reality of it. And I think that customers often underestimate, hey, if the weather's great, it speeds up the process. If it's if you have some rain, if you have some snow, if you have wind, there's all sorts of things that can impact the schedule. And so the schedule moves a good bit, and that's not just us, that's really anybody building down here. So I think that's just something that customers should be mindful of if you're going to build a new house. If you build and if it starts raining, it impacts the schedule.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's something else that impacts the schedule. I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing would just be inspections.
Okay.
Sometimes there are a lot of checks that go into building a house. There are a lot of county inspections, and if you're in township, there are a lot of township inspections, and you're kind of at the mercy of the township in a lot of ways. You got to have them come out, and they've got to check your work and sign off on it before you proceed, and that's totally typical procedure. But it is something that takes a little bit of time. county inspector might, you might schedule him 2 days in advance, and he might show up for a half hour. But that's 2 days that you've kind of got to wait for him before you can continue. So that's a reality in our business as well.
Is so frustrating.
Right.
But it's part of it, You want to have an inspected house.
Right.
It's important.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. And we even have some third-party inspections, like private inspections of people that come in and
Right.
and do that stuff as well.
So as a salesperson, do you think it's your job to say, hey, sometimes this happens, or do you think that's more in the project manager?
It's kind of both. I mean, I think
Okay.
I think in construction there are a lot of complexities, especially when you're in our business, when you're doing a little bit more custom work. With giving customers more options comes a little bit more complexity. And so I think that the schedule reflects that.
Okay.
If you have some crazy custom request that we're totally willing to do, and it's not something that, a repeat customers would do, that's something that we're going to have to sort of put our brains together and figure out. We've done it 100 times. It's not, or millions of times. It's not a, it's a part of our business, but it might not be a part of the routine.
Okay, right.
Process.
The thing I think really comes through in some of the things you're saying, Keith, is and hopefully it comes through all of our podcasts and every time you interact with us, is that as a company we like what we do.
Yeah.
We enjoy sitting with people, and it's not really about the house. Everybody thinks it's about the house, but for me, and I think hopefully for our company, it's about the people we meet. It's about the lives that are transformed by creating these spaces for people's lives. We talk about a new home being a setting for the story of your life, and so that's a big role we get to play in the lives of people, and so we're very passionate about what we do, and what we do is not just build houses, but it's really about the people in the houses. It's really about walking through, and so,
right.
I appreciate your perspective on, hey, your job, it is to sell houses, of course, but it's also to make sure that people are walking through this process and getting the house that fits them perfectly. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Keith, this is your, we're going off script right now.
Oh,
he
boy.
has no idea what's coming.
What are you doing?
So, Keith, is this the first time you've ever been on a podcast before?
Yeah, it is. It is the first time.
Oh.
So are you a podcast guy?
I am a heavy consumer of podcasts.
A heavy consumer of podcasts.
I listen to
self-described.
probably one a day.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Probably. Yeah.
And so
I'd say.
if you had to, do you want to give any shout outs to any of these podcasts? Because a lot of the people that are listening to our podcast are relatively new to the podcasting world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big sports guy, so I really like sports, and with the football season coming up, I'll give a shout out. Yeah, Harris Football is my favorite fantasy football podcast.
I knew that was coming.
Fantasy
great.
football.
He's hilarious.
Do you have any baking podcasts I could listen to?
There are some, I'm sure.
I mean, I
don't
like
listen to them.
football, but
Yeah.
I really maybe I should listen to that. I've got to get into this fantasy football thing.
It's awesome.
Do
So
you?
I mean, maybe.
yeah, you gotta give it a try if you haven't. But fantasy footballers is really funny too. But I think it's just fun to all the strategy that goes behind it. And I play with all my friends and stuff, so it's a good time. Yeah.
Do they also listen to those?
Yeah, they do. So we'll joke around about them all the time.
So it's like podcast clubs.
Okay,
like
so
book club,
right,
podcast.
It's
club.
podcast. So give me one more. We've got Harris for fantasy football. Give me another one that is on.
What was it? Fantasy footballers was the second one.
As an experienced podcast consumer.
So there's one I recently started listening to that's quite entertaining. It's called Dad Tired.
Dad Tired. Do you want to give us a little personal background into why you're listening to the Dad Tired podcast?
I have a 6-week-old little girl, Aurora. She's wonderful. She's amazing. Beautiful little girl. I started listening to the Dad Tired podcast to kind of cope a little bit with being a tired dad. But it's really cool. It's got like a lot of it's kind of like a life. I'd say it's a life lesson kind of podcast. He's offers his experience and kind of just learning, maybe how to be a dad, as I am very new at
And
this,
how to get over
this role.
being tired, because
Because you need that.
Aurora sometimes decides that you're not going to sleep that night
Right. You're just going to drive around. And you're not going anywhere, but you're just going to drive.
because she sleeps in the car. How
Right.
about that?
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's interesting because there is this whole huge world of podcasting where you can really tap into
Yeah.
a lot of different things and interests, and whatever your interest is, there is something
That's right.
that you can podcast. So, well, listen, Keith, we're really glad that you had a chance to be on the podcast today. You're our first guest ever.
Congratulations. You did it.
That's right.
That's great. Thanks for having me.
So-
I
Oh,
really
thanks,
enjoyed
Keith.
it. I really enjoyed being
So
here.
a special thanks to Keith. I think we mention every time in the podcast that our bumper music that you hear at the beginning and the end of our podcast is Keith's band.
Yeah.
And Defining Parallel is the name of the band. And so that is just another aspect.
Yeah, a little fun
That's
That's
fact.
good stuff.
Fun facts. So this has been the So You Want to Build a House podcast. I'm Scott Daly,
I'm Jackie Kovaleski.
I'm Keith Strom.
and we'll see you next time. Thanks. So You Want to Build a House is brought to you by Statera Homes. Statera Homes is a craft home builder in southern Delaware. This builder finds value in working with you to build a home that is the perfect fit for your lifestyle. Statera truly sets themselves apart from other builders in the area. To find out more, visit their website, www.staterahomes.com. That's STATERAHOMES.com. Or call their model home at area code 302-329-8881. That's 302-329-8881. Music from this podcast was by the band Defining Parallel from their recent single, Painted Lives. Thank you for listening to So You Want to Build a House. To stay updated on the most recent episodes, subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you found it to begin with, or check out Statera Homes website, which is again www.staterahomes.com. Thank you very much.